Test, 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 test. Test, test, test. Test, test.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you can start making your way to your seats, we're going to get started here in about 2 minutes. If you could just please make your way to your seats. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you could all please take your seats, we're going to go ahead and get started. All right, everybody, if y'all could all please quiet down, we're going to get started. If you can please take your seats, we're going to go ahead and get things moving. Ladies and gentlemen, if you could please quiet down and take your seats, we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to the Atlanta Young Republicans. We are all very happy to have you here. Thank you. This is our very first meeting of the year. We're all happy to see everybody here. Again, we are the 2021 YRNF Chapter of the Year and the largest GOP-affiliated club in the state of Georgia. So you came to a really good place to spend the rest of your evening tonight. If you don't know me, my name is Alan English, and I'm the president of this wonderful organization. We have a great group of guests here tonight. We're going to start off with a candidate, Fulton County Superior Court Judge Jane Barwick, just to talk to you very briefly about that race.
Thank you so much. I promise this will just take a moment, but I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Jane Barwick, and I am a judge on the Fulton County Superior Court here in Atlanta. There are 20 judges on the Superior Court. 8 of us are up for re-election. I am thrilled to be here tonight, and the reason that I am is I wanted to introduce the fact that many judges down ballot will be running in the primary on May 24th. And that is our race. We are nonpartisan. It is over after that. I beg you to make yourselves aware of the judicial candidates, who's running. You should have each and every one of them here talking to you and explaining to you that we are experienced candidates seeking to face a crisis. And that crisis is the backlog in criminal cases that are absolutely besieging us coming out of this pandemic. Please vote. Please go all the way down. Vote for the judicial candidates. I lift up all of the incumbents to you. Again, I'm Jane Barwick, but I'm mostly the lady who is so thankful to be here tonight and getting to meet you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. Well, in case you guys have missed the news in the past week, the President of the United States called a Fox News reporter a stupid SOB on live television. And it appears that Russia is going to invade Ukraine within the next 30 days. So things are going really well for the Biden administration and the Democrats. I'm really glad that the adults are in charge, as they like to say. But lucky for us, this is a midterm year. We have a lot of elections here, specifically in our state, but this is the year that we're actually going to be able to take control back of the government. But like I said, we have some really important races here to be able to keep our state red. One very important race is the race for lieutenant governor. We're very happy to have our first speaker of 2022 now is Burt Jones, State Senator Burt Jones.
Good evening. Thank you very much for that, too. How's everybody doing tonight? I see all those folks way back there in the back. There's room up here. It's not church. I'm not going to send around an offering plate, so come on up here. But I hope everybody's doing well. It's great to be here. Great to be the first event of the Young Republicans here. And I want to thank you. You know, when so many people don't think young people are getting involved in politics, you come to an event like tonight and see so many faces that are interested in it, and it's good because I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, we're at a crossroads in a lot of different arenas right now in the country, and one is at the local school level, school boards, county commission boards, city councils, and of course your state and federal races too as well. I think you wanted to run a show to kind of give you an update on the legislative body, and then we'll do a little Q&A, I guess. So I'm Burt Jones. I'm from Jackson, Georgia. Grew up in Middle Georgia, 6 generations. Went to the University of Georgia, graduated from there, played football there. So go Dogs! It could be. It might be the year. It might be the year of the Bulldogs here. I was at an event the other night with Herschel Walker. Has anybody heard of him by chance? I tell folks all the time it's hard going to events with Herschel because everybody knows him, and I have to explain to them that I actually played because they look at me and they don't think I did. But I tell them all the time I didn't look like I played 20 years ago either. But graduated from Georgia and went back home and started working in a family company there called Jones Petroleum Company, where we involved with both my siblings, and we have a company. We've grown it into a company where we got about 2,000 employees and all across the Southeast, and it is important, I think, to have business-minded business folks inside politics because those of us who work in the real world, we understand what legislation can do, both at the federal and state level, to businesses, quite frankly. So I am starting my last legislative session as a state senator. I got elected a few years back, and I've always thought public service was something that we ought to do as individuals, whether it's in your churches or your civic groups or whatever, or politics. I think it's something that we ought to consider doing. And I chose politics, and I've seen the legislative body in Georgia work, and I've seen it not work. And I think we're right now in one of those situations where, particularly within conservative-minded people, we've got a lot of weak-kneed Republicans right now, and we've got a lot of people wanting to cave into things like higher taxes, K through 12 education. When it comes to what the curriculum that's being taught in our schools is, and on election integrity as well. And I think that it is important for us to be engaged as a community, as a state, because whether we like it or not, a lot of things that go on at the local and state level can affect our everyday lives. There are some big issues. I've been talking to everybody in this room that are on the docket this legislative session, and they're going to get a lot of talk, and y'all will probably have an interest in them. One is the Buckhead City Group, or the Buckhead City Movement, I should say. And I'm happy to field questions on that later. That legislation, I actually co-sponsored that legislation to allow the citizens of Buckhead to be able to vote on the what's going on here in their communities, and our Lieutenant Governor has already sidelined that bill. So, but we do have another bill that's coming forward that could have potential in seeing daylight. But I'm happy to talk about that later on in the Q&A session. But law and order is a big issue, and crime is a big situation that's going on not just here in Atlanta, but all over the state. And a lot of it has to do with the lack of respect, but also the lack of resources that a lot of our communities have for people going into law enforcement. And let's be honest, when you have a profession that's being the punching bag in a lot of arenas, it's hard to recruit and retain people. And so that's what you're seeing. And look, I could sit here and give you a stump speech and tell you that what all we're going to do is elected a lieutenant governor. But every Republican primary person that comes before you is going to say the same thing. I'm going to be the first one to come out and say we need to eliminate our state income tax, because I was the first one to thank you. I was the first one to say that back in August. Now everybody's running on it. We've got to have law and order back in the state. And I was the first one talking about that because of the situation I just explained. And our K through 12 systems, we've got to give parents choices, and we've got to get a curriculum that is not indoctrinating our children. We just got to go back to educating our children. And I think school choices, school vouchers is an answer to that. And obviously, election integrity, that's a big issue. It was Georgia. Thank you. Georgia was the center of the universe in the 2020 election. I was one of those that was early in saying that we needed to have there was too many allegations and too many areas of gray matter that, particularly in Fulton County, that needed to be investigated. It did not. I was also early saying we need to get into a special session to overturn the Secretary of State's consent order, which allowed for all the drop boxes and everything. And I think you've got to, and we ended up passing, none of that happened, by the way, but we ended up going into legislative session and we passed a bill they called 202, which is supposed to be election integrity bill. Well, the only problem I had with 202 is you didn't identify what your problem was. You just passed a bill to pass a bill. So, and it doesn't matter if it's in a relationship, in business, or in politics. If you got a problem, you got to identify it, and then you come up with a solution for it. We didn't identify the problem, but I promise you, we are going moving forward. Particularly if I'm elected lieutenant governor, we're going to have safe and secure elections, and they're going to be fair, and they're going to be open for everyone to participate in. I can promise you that. So, those are the things that everybody else is going to be running on, and I'm going to tell you why you need to vote for me, because I'm the one that can get them done. Number one, I got a track record to doing it. Number one, I'm somebody who's never, I've voted for tax increases. I've never voted not being for school choice, whether it be charter school systems or whether it be parents having the ability to move their kids to whatever school they deem is the appropriate school for them. And I've always been a backer of law and order. And not everybody who's running can testify to that, but I can. And I can assure you that the best way to tell what somebody's going to do in the future is look at what they've done in the past. And I can tell you I've always approached government with a business-minded approach and a very conservative, but I'm reasonable too at the same time. I'm easy to work with. And I've had plenty of opportunities to work across the aisle on things, but I'm never going to compromise my principles when I do that. But there are a lot of things that can be accomplished in this state that shouldn't be a partisan issue. One is elections. The other one's mental health. That's a big issue that's on the legislative docket right now. And one is obviously transportation is a huge issue. Congestion is a huge issue right here. I know most of y'all had a hard time getting here, but I'm going to need your help. I'm going to need people like you in this room to be involved, to help volunteer, bless you, to help volunteer and hopefully believe in what we're trying to do, because I can tell you right now, lieutenant governor race, like the judge was saying, is a down ballot race, right? Most people don't even know what a lieutenant governor does. And I can tell you, it's probably going to be one of your more important roles if we were to lose the governorship. Because if you lose the governorship, and if we don't get out and vote, it's a very good possibility it could happen. But if it were to go to a Democrat, and you would still control both chambers of the House and the Senate, but right now the executive branch of Georgia is one of the most powerful branches in the country. And if it is a Stacey Abrams governor, you're looking at somebody that would have complete control over judge appointments, complete control over the regents, complete control over your transportation, and your ports authority, and a whole other litany of things. All your agencies are all controlled by the governor's office. So you better have a lieutenant governor that is willing to challenge her at every turn on those issues to make sure that we're appointing good people to those positions. And I can promise you I'm going to do that. I want your help. I need your help. I'm looking forward to taking questions now. And thank y'all again for being here tonight. And if you're interested in volunteering for my campaign, it's burtjonesforga.com. And love to have you a part of the team. And thank y'all very much.
Thank you, Senator. Well, yeah, we'll do a couple questions here, and then we'll take some questions from the audience if you want to sit down here. Well, I think, first of all, we really appreciate your coming. We're really excited that we learn more about your campaign. One thing you touched on that I think a lot of people in this room are very passionate about is Buckhead City. So if you could just share a little bit more on what's going on. I know the lieutenant governors and some people have said it effectively killed the bill. What's the actual status of that, and is there hope?
Well, the initial bill, the one that I co-sponsored, Brandon Beach was the chief sponsor on that bill. It has been put into the Urban Affairs Committee, which is a all Democratic committee, and the chair of that, and, he's a good man. He's he's a Democrat from Savannah, and I doubt he's going to call it up for a hearing or anything. So, because most of our Democratic colleagues have pretty much locked down on the issue, so there is another bill coming. It's basically the same bill, just authored by someone different. So it'd be interesting to see if some of our Republican senators actually. There is a way to buck what the LG does as a sitting senator, but you have to have your leadership team do that. And so it'd be interesting to see if our leadership team does anything with it. I think people in Buckhead, obviously, Buckhead is a community that pays 60% of the revenue comes from the Buckhead community, and they've been sold a short, of sorts. I mean, they've been sold a short bill of sorts as far as resources are concerned. They never get good accommodations on water, sewage, police, and everything else. So I don't blame them for being upset. I don't think they've ever complained about paying higher property taxes, even though I would be. But they never have complained before in the past. But because crime is so bad, and because they don't feel safe going to the grocery store, going to the gas station, I think the citizens should have a right to vote on it. And that's really what the measure does. And anytime we have a referendum where it gives the citizens of a community or a state to vote, I'm always going to be for that. So, good question.
Thank you. Next question. Another thing you kind of touched on tonight was eliminating the state income tax. I think everybody in here would like to make more money. I mean, I know I would like to take a little bit more home every month. I know it's been tried or at least discussed in the past. How can that actually be accomplished, say over the next 4 years?
Yeah. Well, it's something that it sounds a lot easier than what it is. But we're in a very competitive market as far as attracting businesses and things of that nature to our state. We've done a good job in the last 10 years of giving out tax credits and incentives and things of that nature. I think we've gone a little too far with some of those incentives, and really it's probably not beneficial. So I think you have to look at those. You have to look at those incentives that you've been giving out, and then you have to quickly and address how you can by taking away some of those incentives, and then incentivizing the citizens of the state, because more people would benefit from not having income tax than some of those larger companies. So it's not something you can do it in 1 year, but it is something that, like we did a couple years ago, we capped it and lowered it to 5.7%. So you can lower it over a period of time. And I know if Tennessee, Florida, and Texas can do it, I know Georgia can do it, but it is going to take some time. So.
It's funny you mentioned the incentives. I've always read these big, articles of these big companies taking 2,000 jobs here, and they'll usually bring their liberal employees over here, which will vote against the people that gave them the tax incentive. So it's kind of counterproductive. Next question. Believe it or not, there are people within our party who are concerned that focusing on the 2020 election will be detrimental to us in 22 and 24. What do you say to those people?
The 2020 election?
Yeah, the results of the 2020 election.
Well, the thing about the 2020 election, there was a lot of questions that did not get answered. I'll be the first one to tell you that. However, the last thing we need to do is not get out and get engaged. And I think that for so long that the last election cycle, we had hundreds of thousands of Republican voters that stayed at home. However, I still feel like this is a very conservative state. I still feel like there's very conservative-minded people throughout the state, and that if the people, and I also feel like there's a lot of free agents right now, because I do think there's some buyer's remorse going on, particularly with what is going on. I mean, everybody here is paying higher gas prices, groceries prices, and if you're even having a hard time ordering things online because of supply chain, and that's a direct reflection of what's going on at the national level. So I think there's an opportunity for us to not only, if our rank and file conservatives will come back out and I actually get engaged, and then I think you might have the people who are considering themselves independents that can go over the way. I really think 2022 will be a banner year down ballot for the Republican Party or for the candidates running for those posts. So, but it is, I think the last thing we can do is get disengaged. And it's like I said, you ought to be engaged. I know it's hard to, especially young professionals, because most of y'all are either married, got kids, or want to do something besides. It's great we're actually having a social hour here, because I'm telling you right now, y'all are probably, I'm looking at this crowd, and most nights I go somewhere, everybody's about 60 years older than everybody in here. So it's good to see. I've been the youngest person in the room for a long time at Republican Party meetings until tonight. But at any rate, but I think it's important that our young people get engaged and get engaged in their local and state politics as well.
Well, we're glad to provide a venue for you to not be the youngest person in the room. So if nothing else, we're happy to do that for you. I want to shift gears a little bit on crime. I think one of the biggest drivers of the Buckhead City movement is crime, but the crime is prolific throughout the city of Atlanta and really in a lot of communities. Just a couple weeks ago, I'm from East Cobb, and I was in East Cobb by a big fancy church in the middle of broad daylight, and I saw somebody smash a window and steal this guy's computer in a CVS parking lot. What can be done, or what do you plan to do from a state level to address those issues and make sure that local DAs are actually prosecuting criminals that are perpetuating this crime?
Atlanta, there's a lot of good men and women. I don't want to knock the APD of Atlanta, because there's a lot of good men and women that work for the Atlanta Police Department. Their hands have been tied with the last administration, with the mayor not wanting to support them in their efforts, a DA that does not want to prosecute criminals, and really they almost made the Atlanta Police Department, when they did try to do their duties, they were painted as the enemy almost in a lot of cases. So it's unfortunate when you have a situation like that. We're going to have to do more around the state as far as putting resources in place for either benefits or payroll efforts. I'm working with the Sheriff's Association right now to try to come up with a concept that would work. Because look, as bad as it is here with the being shorthanded of people, you ought to go out to smaller communities where the deputies make $11 or $12 an hour as the starting pay. They're having a really hard time getting new people to come into the profession, and so we're gonna have to. There's models out there. Florida has a model. Texas has the models, and so we're gonna have to, as a state, make law and order a priority and try to help recruit more people into that profession. So, good question.
Another thing that I think people are really passionate about, just in our current day and age, is education. Probably most people here don't have kids, but they will have kids, at some point. They might, I don't know. But critical race theory being taught in schools, radical leftists running, being school superintendent. I think I saw this video recently. I won't get into that. Anyways, doesn't matter. Saw something on Twitter. But from the state level, how can we make sure that critical race theory is not taught in schools, in county schools, in city schools?
Well, it's not going to be easy. Look, I'm a product of a public educator. My mother was a school teacher for 30 years, and she was a school administrator. She left the profession really because she was tired of all the administrative work. And there's been such a burden put on our classroom teachers for quite some time now, and the lack of and then parents also not being able to have multiple choices, And I say that because you can't have a one-size-fits-all for the whole state, because there's a lot of counties that only have one school system. So the idea is where in the areas of the states where the money can follow the child, I think we need to make that available in school systems where the leadership is wanting to teach stuff that is really dangerous for our youth to be learning. I mean, teach history, and you don't need to bring your personal views into it. You just teach the curriculum on the books and let children independently come up with their own reasoning behind things. And but when you have school systems that don't want to comply, then when you control the purse strings at the legislative body, it's very easily to pull back funds to those school systems if it comes to that point. You hope it doesn't come to that point, though. But yeah, great question.
All right, this will be my last question, then we're going to move to audience questions. There's probably quite a few people in this room that have at least thought about or are strongly considering one day running for office. What was it that initially made you want to run for office, and what is it that keeps you doing it?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm 42 now. I was 32 when I first ran for the state senate, and look, I grew up in a household where being involved in the community. I grew up in a small community, and growing up in a small community, it does give you a unique perspective about things. Number one, it teaches you that because in small communities, we all have the same issues: transportation, access to health care, and access to other amenities that a lot of people in bigger cities can enjoy. But in a small community, when you have those issues, you got to work as a community. And that's white and black and Republican, Democrat, male, female, old and young. And to get things done, whether it be a decent medical facility or hospital, things of that nature. So being involved in community activities was always a part of as I was growing up. And it just so happened, so I would encourage people to get involved with public service because it does teach you a lot of meaningful values, and it also gives you a better perspective of how things operate, and as well as how you can influence change in your community, your state, or your government as a whole. So I just got involved because it was just something that I've always done, and a seat came available, and I had a couple of folks approach me about running, and I didn't know anything, so I just said, okay, I'll do it, but and then ended up winning. But it's been really rewarding, and really win, lose, or draw in this lieutenant governor's race. I'll go away happy because of the experience I've enjoyed up to this point. I want to win, don't get me wrong, but there is a life after politics, and I can appreciate that too. So, but thank you.
Somebody needs to tell Nancy Pelosi there's a life after politics. Yeah. So, yeah. So we're going to take questions from the audience. So if you have a question, please raise your hand. I'll call on you and speak really loud, and then I will hopefully be able to hear you, and I'll repeat it. Skylar.
Senator, I was just curious.
Yeah, actually, if you have questions, why don't you just come to either side here, and then you can come up here and ask your question on the mic.
Senator, thank you for being here. We have a lot of people moving here from progressive states like New York, California, for the film tax credit program, and we know we have one of the most generous in the country. I was curious, would you support any reforms or curbing back that system, as a means to kind of stop some of the...
Sure, yeah. The question was about the film tax credit, and if I would have an interest in changing the structure of it. When we initiated the film tax credit, it was really kind of like the Wild West. There was really no checks and balances on that, and we really didn't know. As you being, Skylar, I believe you're an accountant by trade. You being an accountant, you can appreciate that. There was really no a way of seeing if people were selling those credits and doing what they were supposed to be doing with those credits. So it definitely needs to be better police than what we have. The only problem with eliminating it completely, and I don't think it needs to be as rich as it is right now, But you do have a lot of longtime Georgians who have created the capital investment here with the studios and everything. The companies who've been taking it the best advantage of it are more your larger corporations, your Paramount, your Foxes, and all those things. Well, they have no capital infrastructure here, so they're just kind of like nomads, and they just go to the state where the best, whatever can make their bottom line, look the best. So I think that basically you do need to adjust it. And not make it so rich, but at the same time, I wouldn't want to eliminate it because of so many jobs and investments that have been made here, and so it is a fine line that you have to walk there. But it's definitely it's not the only tax credit. Now there are some tax credits I'm all for getting rid of completely because they only benefit a small few, and those are the ones that I would be more interested in getting rid of, and then looking at how we can adjust the ones that are meaningful to the economy as a whole. Thank you.
And real quick before we take the next question, Skylar was a great question. 25 seconds. Let's kind of keep them short. Don't come up here and make this your time. Just make it a quick question so we can get to more people.
Hi, Senator. What endorsements do you have in this race, and has President Trump weighed in on this race?
Oh, yeah, well, I've been endorsed by President Trump, yeah, and I have been endorsed by President Trump, yeah. Thank you. And that's about it. No, I'm just kidding. He's endorsed me. He's been very helpful, and I do have a lot of other ones, and we're excited. I mean, I'm going around the state. We're getting great feedback, and we had great fundraisers when we could fundraise, and so I feel really good about where we are right now. But thank you for the question, though.
Martin?
Hey, Martin.
Yes. My question comes from experience of working in property tax data for the last 5 years, and I've seen property tax data over the country. You talk about how you want to get rid of the state income tax. The problem is money's got to come from somewhere, because if you get rid of the state income tax, where's the revenue going to come in? Increase the sales tax, increase the property taxes. Buckhead wants to become a separate city. Guess what? About maybe a third of the revenue for the city of Atlanta is going to go away. The money's got to come from somewhere.
Yeah. No, and that's why I said earlier, that's not something you can do in 1 year, because it would cause a $14 billion hole in your budget. But you can lower it over a course of time, and you might get to 3% and say, this is, without it having to really affect the cost of living, we might have to reassess it. But I can tell you from knowing about, there's billions of dollars in giveaways that we give out as far as from incentives and credits and things of that nature, and that's where I would start first, is with that. That would be the low-hanging fruit of things that aren't as beneficial to all the community or the whole state. And but no, it's a concern of mine. I'm in business too. I know I can't just make that as a campaign promise and then try to figure out how to do it afterwards. So, but it is the goal though, and so we'll have to slowly go about it.
All right, we have time for one more question. So, all right, does anybody, who has the most exciting question? Okay, all right, we'll give it to you.
So if
No mic, okay.
What will you do to ensure that President Brandon Biden doesn't overreach federal power, because look what he's doing right now?
Yeah, it's a good question. The question was, what would you do to prevent from federal overreach under the current administration if you're lieutenant governor? I look at right now things that we could be doing. You look at the border that's wide open right now, and people are flooding in from all over the world, and you really don't have any kind of checks on where they're going, where they've come from, or anything. And we know what I would do first, but this is going to take the executive branch to do this. Just pertaining to the border, I would team up with every state willing to arm it, call on its National Guard to go down to the state of Texas, and there'd be about 12 or 14 right now out of the boot that would call on their National Guard to go down to the state of Texas and help them with policing that border, because they are breaking U.S. laws. And if it meant us having to send National Guardsmen down there, or even having to send troopers down there and have them be sworn in as Rangers, that would be something. I think having the wide open border is one of the most dangerous things that's going on right now in this country. And I think you told me you were from Colombia. Yeah, They came to the United States because of what was going on with the regime that was happening down there, I'm sure, and I'm afraid that with the agenda that the Biden administration is moving in a direction that is not something that we're all going to be excited about. I think it's moving towards a direction that's more like the countries like Cuba and Colombia that people are running away from, So, but it's a good question. But I think the border is the most important thing.
Well, thank you so much, Senator. We really appreciate you coming.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we just have a couple quick announcements, and I'll let everybody get back to the drinking that everybody loves to do. All right, first thing, if you are on the board, please raise your hand. Awesome, I don't see anybody, I'm just kidding. All right, so we got a couple people here. So if you are a potential new member, and you have any questions about how awesome it is to be a member here, please talk to anybody that raised their hand, as well as Winslow, who's gonna come up here in a second and talk about membership. It's an honor to be on the board. I think everybody here would agree with that. So we're gonna have two quick announcements. First is our VP of Membership, Winslow Jones, to talk about all things membership. Winslow? It's your time to shine, girl. You got it.
Hi, everyone. So I just want to say a few things about the value of becoming a member this year. Obviously, we have a huge election year coming up, so we want to try to get as many people involved as possible. So when you become a member, we encourage the premium membership because it lasts until you're 41 years old, and so you get to enjoy all the membership benefits until you're 41. So it's worth it, especially if you know you're going to be here for more than a year. So the first benefit is you get a cool little name badge like this, so you're official in the club. You also get discounts to our paid events. We'll have 3 or 4 probably this year, and Matt Alvarez will talk about that in a second. And then you also, if you are interested in leadership opportunities in local politics, this is a great place to start. And you get to vote and serve on the board. If you're interested in serving on the board, you can really just let that be known to one of us who are on the board, and we'll see if we can fit you in anywhere. But you have to be a member to do that. Also, there may be, we actually came up with this idea this year, there may be some opportunity drawings for members only, and that may include something like Braves tickets. That's still in the works, so you can only do it if you are a member. And also, just becoming a member also increases your involvement and other people's involvement in our cause here. And we really need a lot of help door knocking and canvassing this year for the candidates. And our whole goal is to help Republicans get elected. So please encourage your friends to come out if they're interested. I mean, you don't really have to know about politics that much. You can just be interested and just come engage with us. And it's a social club, so we're here to have fun. And so I'll turn this over to Matt Alvarez. Come find me over there if you're interested in signing up tonight. I can do it right here, right now. So let me know. My name's Winslow, and thank you for being here.
Well, thank you so much, Winslow, and what a great start to the year. Thanks, Alan. Thanks, and let's all just give Burt another round of applause. Thanks so much for coming out. So For those I haven't met, my name is Matt Alvarez. I am the VP of Events for AYR, and I'm really excited to be here with you all tonight. And we just have some awesome, fun events that we're planning this upcoming year. Our next social is going to be actually at Lingering Shade on the Beltline. So if you know where Krog Street Market is, it's right across the street. We just got everything sorted out for that right before, and that's going to be on February 10th. And it also just so happens to be the day before this guy's birthday. So come out and have a drink and celebrate our president here and have some fun with us. So yeah, and there's a lot more to come in terms of events. We're going to be planning some fun things around the Kentucky Derby this summer, and just some great things. Got some exciting things in mind, even for the Christmas party that we're planning ahead of time. So thank you again, and looking forward to seeing you all at the next social at Lingering Shade on the Beltline. So thank you.
Thank you, Matt. All right, just a couple quick last announcements. I promise I will be done. As Winslow mentioned, one of the things of being a member is being able to serve on the board. And we're always taking inquiries, so if you're interested in serving in any capacity on the board, please come find me. One team that we're really growing this year is social media engagement. So we have a team of social media people that we're trying to grow. So if you're interested or you're good at social media or you like to do graphics or anything like that, specifically graphics, we really need somebody to do graphics, please come talk to me or really anybody on the board, and we'd be happy to discuss with you what that looks like. And as always, thank you to Bold Monk. We really, we love having our events here, so please, eat food here, drink a lot, but be sure to tip the servers well, because they might not be Republicans and they have to deal with us, but they do a good job of it. Last announcement, this is a really big announcement. Our February meeting will be on February 24th, and our guest speaker of the night is Governor Brian Kemp. So please be here. Details will follow. It might not be here because I expect there to be quite a few more people than we usually have. So be on the lookout for your inbox and on Facebook and social. We'll announce where that's going to be. But February 24th, Governor Brian Kemp. Thank you all for coming. If you are a board member or your name is Senator Burt Jones, if you could please come up here for a photo. Everybody else, go to the bar, get drunk, have a good time. Thank you for coming.